Hi there, my name is Kay Moon and I'm a twin flame channel and Western astrologer. And this is a video about the new moon in Pisces taking place on March 10th at 5 a.m. If you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States, please check a time zone converter for your local time. Very exciting new moon in Pisces that we have going on. Really looking forward to giving you the lowdown on this because this is such a powerful portal that we have stepped into as a prelude to manifestation, a setup for manifestation, and an opening of a new timeline, like the work that lays down the track for that timeline to unfold for us is happening right now. So I'm excited to break all this stuff down for you. But first, I have a couple of quick announcements. Star Club is open for enrollment, and I just launched it. If you haven't heard, it is my community where you can learn, practice, and share astrology for 12 weeks with myself and other astro lovers. And so, Star Club is going to kick off with what we call our first Astro Chat on this Thursday. And Astro Chats are just 90-minute opportunities to listen, learn, and ask cues. I'm going to be reading charts live for people in a group setting so that you have the opportunity to learn why I break down things the way I break them down and ask questions in real time. You can bring your chart, your kid's chart, your counterpart's chart. You can actually have me coach you through reading a chart if you're learning how to read astrology, but you could also skip that and use your 20-minute hot seat just for business mastery if you want to talk about building an astro business. There are 20 spots available for getting that 20-minute hot seat with me, but I'm so impressed, you guys. Some of the people who have already signed up for Star Club have booked those out. I think there's only like 5 spots left at this point, 5 or 6 spots left for getting that 20-minute hot seat with me. So if you know that matters to you to have that kind of one-on-one time and being part of an intimate group of people who want to talk astrology, who geek out on astrology, that's your jam, just like me, then join in. Many of you asked, you emailed and said, look, I really want to join, but I need to wait until I get paid on this coming Friday because, the first of the month hit and I want to do the monthly installment plan. And so if that's your situation, I am going to extend enrollment until Friday at midnight Eastern time. But after that, I will be closing Star Club to enrollments. And so if that's something you want to do, you can join for monthly installments of $397. But if you also want to just take a savings and invest in full, you can certainly do that as well for $997. It is an intimate community. Like I said, I'm not letting just kind of everyone join. I really wanted to cap the numbers by design so that I have the capacity to really touch each person each week in our community in responding to questions and connecting with you. So definitely join. I'm so impressed with the folks who've joined so far. These are some of the people, like if I had to recommend someone to either trade a reading with you or look at your chart, the people who have joined Star Club so far are the people I would trust with you. And that's saying a lot because I know that not everyone reads in such a way where they're focused on light or love or truth in the way that I do with folks. But the people who have joined Star Club are folks who have studied with me for several years. Some of them are just getting their feet wet, even though they've studied for a long time, just getting their feet wet with reading for other people. Some of them are already getting paid to read for other people. So if you know having some kind of community where people are really dedicated to learning about astrology is right for you, link to join Star Club is just below this video. We do have our first Astro Chat this Thursday I'd love for you to be a part of it. We are going to talk about the upcoming eclipses. First one is this month on March 24th. Hooray! And then we're going to move from there into some readings. When you join, you also get access to Star School 101. Last week I added 201 and 301. So those of you who are like, when are you ever offering 201 or 301? I've done 101. This is the way to get it. Join Star Club. You'll get instant access to astrology for twin flames and North Node mastery. But it's a great way to get study partners and get feedback from charts at your fingertips inside of our member area. Okay. When you're a member, you also get savings, 20% off just about everything while you're a member. Full schedule for Star Club's Astro chats with me are right there. So, like I said, I'm going to extend your capacity to join until this Friday. Then after that, we close the doors and we start to do some deep diving together. You can join, like I said, installment plan is available. You can do $397 a month, and that would make it a lot easier for some of you. I know the rest, if you want to take the savings and do an investment in full, you can definitely do that too. Now, here's the thing, like I said, only 5 more spots are left for folks who want to do the private one-on-one time with me, or the coaching with me, the astrology coaching. Definitely make sure you book fast if you want to lock in one of those spots, because I do believe they're going to sell out. Okay, let's talk about this Pisces new moon. Really quick, if you're new, timestamps are below the video. If you want to come back and re-listen as we get closer to the new moon and easily find what you need, you can check those out. And at the end of every video, I offer something called First Look, and that's a segment that provides my first impression of the upcoming lunation. I believe that's the full moon in Taurus, sorry, Libra. So we can look at how the energy progresses from here. So let's dive in. We've got our new moon in Pisces at the 20th degree of Pisces right here. And this new moon is conjunct Nessus here, and I'll explain what that means in a moment. We've got an opposition to Lilith in Virgo, a square to Vesta in Gemini, and an almost conjunction to Nessus here, also in Pisces. Ooh, this is big energy, and in some really good ways. We also see Uranus in conversation as well, from a sextiling position. Beautiful lunar energy that's going to provide an opening for our more spiritual endeavors, as Pisces is that sign that connects us to all that is. This is also the close of the astrological year, as Pisces is the last sign of the zodiac. So there is the closing out of a season and the opening up of a period of integration for everything we've learned in the past 1 year cycle, including the very illuminating, very instructive recent Virgo full moon. That last lunation was a major culmination of revelation around what right living means to us and how we can take steps for greater personal alignment. Now, this lunation continues that theme with a period of interior rooting and grounding through the emotional and spiritual bodies. So, this could be a time for reflection and artistic expression. If you know the way that you ground things is through your artistry, singing, acting, dancing, writing, etc. Of you, you could reflect in that way, but you can also integrate in that way. Integrate your new directions based on everything you've learned. The Nessus Uranian energy in particular, and there's Nessus again at that 17th degree of Pisces, Uranus again at the 19th degree of Taurus. The two of these are going to bring out a bit of, they're going to create a sense of catharsis when it comes to our deeper psychological processes that maybe we've struggled to understand, maybe we've struggled to deal with. At this time, we may try some new therapies or approaches to support mind, body, spirit healing so that we can move into our next chapter with a clean slate. I'm loving the Uranian piece because that's going to give us that clean slate, that fresh new start from the sextiling angle, as opposed to a lot of like shocking energy. It's going to be much easier to work with and integrate. This energy almost reads like that intense feeling of being in a hot sauna and then the emerging into cool air. This is some of the more, this is more of an emotional psychic purge and release that's going to leave us all feeling cleansed on the other side. And so, because Nessus sits so close to this lunation, and if you read about the mythology of Nessus, you'll see that it's a story about being obsessed with something. It can bring out some of that OCD energy, and there could be a slight inclination to purge at or purge on other people. Alternatively, it will be very important to take moderate self correction if you're the kind of person who, or if you're the kind of person who beats up on themselves in order to make any kind of change in your life. With other people, actions and behaviors might just slip out, especially with Lilith trying to find balance since she's the opposing energy at this new moon. And with self, it could be easy to take self correction way too far into self punishment and self harm if there's a lack of self compassion and understanding of why you've been up to what you've been up to. So if you're one of these people and no one is in your life to tell you, let me make sure your ears hear this. It's okay. You know and understand differently and better now than you ever have before. You've got more options now. You're more open now to new paths than you've ever been before. There's no way that you could be the person that you've been before that didn't know what you now know because you've lived through it. And now that you know better, you can do better. You may have noticed something was misaligned for you in your living before, but now you understand why it was misaligned. Release it. Forgive yourself for the past. It's done. Embrace the fact that you're still breathing and starting today. You can write a new story for your life. It's okay. You're still a good person with a good life who can do some good in this world for others. Now, there was a lot of emergent and inescapable truths that would have surfaced as we walked into the Virgo full moon 2 weeks ago. Now, this new moon is taking that to new heights with a T square between the new moon, Vesta, and Lilith. And here's Vesta. She's dedication in the sign of exploration and thoughtfulness. That's Gemini. Here's our new moon right there in Pisces, allowing a lot of the subconscious processes to come into focus. And here is Lilith right here. Okay. Where did I leave off here? Yes. Okay. So this new moon is going to take some of those revelations, like I said, to new heights. The way to balance the energy of a T square is always to occupy the sign conspicuous in omission. And for us, that's Sagittarius. There's no occupation in the mutable mode of Sagittarius at those similar degrees. So 24th degree Gemini, 17th degree Lilith, 20th degree new moon. There's nothing here except for us, our own light body, our own luminary body. And so, in occupying Sagittarian energy at this lunation, we can balance some of the intensity that would have come up with these inescapable truths. What Sagittarius represent? Faith, the belief that we can do something different, commanding something different, hope, the capacity to really vision and to stand for that something different could happen. Optimism, this idea that the best can happen and not just the worst. And the most important at this time that Sagittarius represents is truth and vision, seeing the end and choosing to live in it. So, with this new moon, we get a much needed opportunity to integrate and ground the insights of those tougher truths of the Virgo full moon through a much deeper emotional and spiritual understanding. All of the transits leading up to the last full moon smacked us, like I said, with some tougher truths, but now we get to integrate it emotionally and spiritually, and we get to understand the higher level order to the unfoldments. It's like we get to take a peek at the code in the matrix. Now, have you guys ever watched any of those talent show contests on television, like The Voice or Britain's Got Talent? And as you watched the audition, like audition after audition, you may have begun to notice like a pattern, and you could see the people who were all the way like in it, like heart, mind, body, spirit. They're right there. Like nothing's holding these people back. It's not that they weren't nervous. It's that somewhere inside of them, they made a decision that the fear of doing it and letting that stop them was going to suck way harder than the fear of getting up there and just doing it. When you see those people where something's just clicked for them, the fear of not, their fear wasn't in between them and their performance, their past mistakes forgotten in that moment, their previous growing pains in their performance or just being visible, totally released. This new moon gives us a combination of that level of inner humility and inner alignment to get on with what we know we need to do. In many of those cases, it's not confidence that carries people onto that stage. It's just a willingness to not be stuck where they used to be. The thing about this is that it's less showboat, it's less declaration. It's almost to some degree not even yet action oriented. This is more of an energy of inner resolve, inner alignment, inner commitment. And this is what gives our choices its power in this moment. This is the rumbling under the surface, the revving of the engine. This new moon is filled with internal awareness and inner resolve, that quiet knowing about what needs to happen. And this is continued beautiful energy. I talked about this at the last particular lunation. Beautiful energy for artists, creatives of all mediums who need inspiration in order to produce quality work. This lunation is going to bring that inspiration for you. Okay. I want to talk to you now about the signs that are going to feel this lunation for the most. Okay. If you have the sun, moon, rising, or stellium in Virgo, Sagittarius, Gemini, this new moon is going to pack a little bit of a punch, a level of edge or discomfort. Take the information and the discomfort as guidance and prompts for you to know what you need to commit to, what commitments you need to release, and where you need to invest in yourself. Pisces, Cancer, and Scorpio, you may feel a little more emotional than usual. I've said it in some more recent lunar updates, and I'll say it again here. The emotions are a great source of information about what we want, what we need, and the gap in between. This new moon will illuminate where your heart is and what you need to do to create alignment. So trust your inspiration. Okay. Now, we've got some other aspects supporting this lunation. Let's talk about those. Other aspects supporting this lunation include Mercury in Aries at the 0 degree mark. Let me clear these notations so you guys can see these fun aspects. So here's Mercury in Aries jumping into a new sign. And I think, is Mercury the first one this year? Yep, Mercury's the lead, consciousness and communication. So the lunar new year, not the lunar new year, but the astrological new year always starts when the planets start to line up in the first sign of the zodiac, and that's Aries. The moon hits Aries once a month, every 2 days. But the rest of the faster moving planets only get here once a year. Mercury is going to kick off this arrival to the beginning of our new astrological new year. So here's Mercury in Aries at the 0 degree mark at this lunation, but Mercury is also sextile to Pluto right here at that 1st degree mark as well. This is providing some penetratingly deep realizations about ourselves, where we fit into the matrix. It will also be unmistakably clear if we're in the wrong place, doing the wrong thing right now. The misalignment will not be silenced. It will not be pushed aside. This is phenomenal energy as well for projects that require the ability to concentrate, research, and some level of mental fortitude. Expect your conscious mind to be super sharp at this time. This particular transit will allow us to see hidden meanings, truths, and patterns in our lives, but in particular with others and in the world. Just make sure that if you're planning to address blind spots with others, you've addressed them in yourself first. There's plenty of opportunity for projection laced all up in here. Conversations at this time might be a little intense. You may feel intense. Words can pack a punch with Pluto's power speaking with Mercury, consciousness and mind. So if you're needing to have conversations, just be thoughtful about how you share and how you phrase things to make sure that it opens the door for other people to be in negotiation with you rather than shuts conversation down. Now, if you are a writer, academic, journalist, strategist, researcher, engineer, or otherwise work with data sets and information for a living, you're going to find you can do some of your best work under this new moon, and it could set the stage for a promotion or a step up in the fullness of time. Be sure to allow yourself to lean into any intuitive hunches about your research or your work that can illuminate where to place your attention, because you will find that intuition and intelligence work very well under this influence. Okay, let's talk about next Venus in Aquarius. Let me highlight her. Here's Venus in Aquarius, Trine Vesta in Gemini. Okay, and we have Mars, sort of part of this conversation as well. Uranus is also playing a little bit of a part. Uranus right here. We're going to talk about these a little bit separately. I want to address Venus, which is all about love and attraction, connection, attachment, and money. She's not necessarily commitment, but Vesta is dedication, follow through, ritual, and routine. I really love seeing Vesta and Venus in conversation fresh off the heels of the Mars Venus Pluto conjunction we had in the last few weeks. Because, like I said, Vesta's all about that dedication, that follow through. So she's adding an initial level of groundedness to any passion projects or passionate liaisons that got off the ground in February, in theory. And I say in theory because she's also in Gemini. And the Gemini energy loves to explore, to take things one step at a time, to see how things go, and stay responsive to information and to energies as they arise, and then course correct. So it's one of the most flexible and responsive signs of the zodiac. That's the gift of Gemini energy. So if you're looking to stabilize something that kicked off in February, the best thing to do in this energy is stay intentional, stay open, stay in the moment, and do not push. Allow the information that's going to surface inform what the best next step is with anything you've either grown attached to or invested in over the last month, whether that's a project or a connection. Okay. So that's how to work with that. Okay. And here's where the other shoe drops. Always something, right? Let me go back and just make sure I've time stamped that for us. The other shoe is going to drop with Mars and Venus in Aquarius, square Uranus in Taurus. And so here's Uranus at that 19th degree. And here's Mars and Venus, Mars talking to Venus right there. I love and hate Mars and Uranus in conversation. The impulse control can be at an all-time low with this combo. I recently had a conversation with some of my students, and we pulled up the chart of a famous celebrity who has Mars and Uranus and Pluto in conversation. And that celebrity has struggled in the course of their lifetime with impulse control as it pertains to addictive substances. Frankly, I mean, thankfully, that celebrity has gotten that under control at this point in their career. And so we see, and they've talked about that, like having that kind of check and balance. But anytime we see Mars and Uranus in conversation, it's like action can happen without thinking. And that Venus in the mix means that this is an impulsive energy that will most likely have some impact on our attachments, on our money, on our love situations. And that this is a square from Uranus. It brings an element of tension to the impulses. Either the impulse happens at an inconvenient time, it includes some level of inconvenience to execute on if it's a helpful or constructive impulse, or it's inconvenient to reaching your goals in the aforementioned areas. Generally speaking, when we need help breaking out of ruts and stuck patterns, this combo, amazing, awesome, A1. This is the combo you want to have hit your chart by transit. It's like, oh, yes, finally, I can break free. I can just do something. This combo is a combo that can have you wake up in the middle of the night, decide to clean out your closet, build that website you've been thinking about. Whatever you may have been avoiding, this combo can be used to spark that just do it energy for you. Could even be, like I said, something financial, right? If you've got like home repairs you need to do to like improve the value of your house, this could do it for you. So, in this way, this energy serves us deeply, given how uncomfortable truths of the last full moon may have brought up some insights about what needs to happen in order to move your life forward. This is that astrological get on with it, kick in the pants we can use to our advantage. However, if a lack of impulse control has created problems in life and resulted in very regrettable actions with love or with money, the week before and the week after March 10th, I want you to be sure to put some padding in place. Phone a friend, do your deep breathing before you make any major decisions to ensure they're aligned with where you're trying to go. This way, you can get this new moon, which represents new beginnings. You can get this new moon cycle off on the right foot. Now, further, with Venus in square to Uranus specifically, I want to talk about that part. Here's Venus, here's Uranus, and it's a square that it's Thankfully, not as intense as it might have been a couple weeks ago, but still deserves to be spoken about. This is not the best energy for any of the following: surprising someone with declarations of love or commitment, like just showing up at their job and proposing in front of all their coworkers, or a proposal in front of friends when you haven't talked about marriage, that kind of thing. That you could have some surprising or unexpected reactions to that in this energy. Additionally, new body modification, new self care investments, new beauty treatments, or major new home decor investments or renovations are best put off to the end of the month if you can wait. The likelihood that it could come out in a surprising way, you could incur an unexpected expense, is really high. And that could certainly be a good thing. But if you have a specific desired outcome in mind and you want to really control that you get to that outcome, definitely just take a beat. Maybe just give it a week or two. But this only pertains to new stuff. Now, if you've already done things before, like you're touching up the hair color, touching up a tattoo, um, touching up paint on a part of the house you've already painted, then you're all good. The Mars-Uranus Impulse Control Challenge won't necessarily cause things to go sideways, but it is in effect for the remainder of the month. The Venusian uh, energy that pertains to love, money, and new beauty treatments and self care, that particular energy passes by about the 15th or the 20th, as it's already been in effect for a couple of weeks. Okay. Now, there are some extended energies in place that I have spoken about quite a lot in the last several lunations, so I'm not going to deep dive on those here. If you would like to understand some of these, I strongly recommend you go back to the timestamps in previous videos so that you can hear all about what they mean. But I'm going to give you guys just a little bit of a sense of what these extended energies mean and how long they'll be in place, because they're definitely coloring all of what we're about to experience. So the first one is Jupiter in Taurus, sextile Saturn in Pisces. This one's going to be with us for a while. I'd say probably through May, end of April, rather, I should say. So this sextile is a really lovely balancing energy where we get the planet that governs integrity, wholeness, and alignment, and wants us to cut off anything or release anything that undermines our capacity to be whole. We have that in a harmonious conversation with the planet that governs expansion, growth, optimism, and opportunity. And so, with these two in a balancing conversation, one from water sign, the other in an earth sign, this is what's going to allow us to really step into some significant emotional and physical regulation, right? For the body and the mind, but also the third dimension and our kind of emotional reactions to it. With Saturn and Jupiter in this conversation, there's an opportunity for measured growth, stable growth, grounded growth that doesn't go too far too fast, but also doesn't stay stuck in a rut, committed to things that are no longer working. These two balance out in conversation in the sextile, are balancing out one another's shadow side. Shadow side of Saturn can be a little too strict and restrictive. Shadow side of Jupiter can be a little too rose-colored glasses, Pollyanna, um, expanding before you actually have groundedness to expand. So I like to see these two in conversation while we're going through some of the major changes of 2023. Sorry, 24. Wow, that came out sideways, K Moon. We are in 2024. Time is flying. And so, with these two in conversation, while we have Pluto jumping into Aquarius, while we have Chiron and the North Node conjunct, and just before we walk into the Jupiter Uranus conjunction, that's going to put all of our lives in hyperspeed, warp speed, it's already happening. These two are allowing us to get our feet fully planted on the ground so that whatever changes we're making at this time are changes that can last. Okay, so it's very constructive, very helpful. I have talked also extensively about Pluto in Aquarius, sextile Neptune. Just to give you a quick recap here. Let's see here. Let me timestamp that for us as well. Pluto in Aquarius, sextile Neptune in Pisces. This is definitely one for the books. This combo is allowing us to experience unprecedented levels of deeper intuition, connection to the psychic consciousness. And this is both the collective consciousness, that's Aquarius. So things that are available to be known collectively, because like everyone's thinking about it. You could call this the zeitgeist if you want, but also the collective subconsciousness. So the repressed information, the hidden information and energy, the information that kind of like rests in between the breath, the space in between particles, that's the Piscean energy. And so Pluto here and Neptune here are giving us access to both in some very new ways. You know, I had a download recently. Actually, it was just last night. Let's be honest, hey Moon, it wasn't recently. It was 12 hours ago. I had a download about, because I was so fascinated. I'm in the middle, just started watching this television series on the streaming platform Hulu called Only Murders in the Building. And it's about this group of uh, neighbors who are solving true crimes inside of their building, their apartment building. And uh, they have turned their sleuthing into a podcast. And it also strikes me, right? Like we see the rise of this like true crime kind of obsession here in the collective consciousness. You know, lots of, documentaries like Netflix is putting out some, all the streaming platforms have some of the television networks have these kind of, like, there's a growing interest in, you know, secret or hidden information or trying to bring out into the public information about bizarre and unusual and nonsensical things that have unfolded, unanswered questions or mysteries that have unfolded that we seem to be obsessed about at this time. And that's Pluto and Neptune for sure. Pluto, secrets, power, control. Neptune, the unseen world, also television, but vision as well. It dawned on me as I was like looking at this configuration, thinking about this surge in true crime stuff, and thinking about, well, what's the context in which all of this is happening? Well, we know we're in the middle of the ascension process. More and more people are getting their spiritual gifts coming online. They're tapping in to their claircognizance, their omnicognizance. They're tapping into their clairvoyance and clairaudience. They're getting greater intuitive hits about truth. And so the realization I had looking at this configuration is that this kind of like true crime obsession period that we're in the middle of collectively is part of how people are exercising their capacity to know, to sense, to tap into information that is there but is unseen, perhaps hidden. It's the metaphorical, like stretching your intuitive legs, if you will. And so that this is unfolding at this moment in this particular way, I like to see this. I feel like we're moving into a period collectively where we are not being so cavalier about falsehoods or so willing to tolerate lies or dishonesty from ourselves or from other people. We're growing into greater comfort with just tell me the truth, even if I don't like it, types of energy here as a collective. And I think this, this little like true crime tangent that people happen to be on as a way of exercising intuition, because these they tend to show these as series episodes, gives people the opportunity to say, aha, I knew it, I felt it in episode 2 that this was going to be the outcome by episode 4 or 8. And so I like that this is giving us a chance to I don't like the word to use the word play when we're talking about situations as serious as murder or conspiracy to harm people. But I like that it's giving us an opportunity to interact, I guess is the better word, with our intuitive insights and expand our capacity to perceive them in ways that are outside of our direct live experience, because that can only enhance our capacity to work with them inside of our direct lived experience as well. And that these are collective energies. It's letting us know that collectively we're all stepping into this together. Okay. So that's my little tangent on the expression of this energy. Like I said, I've covered Pluto Neptune conjunct in several lunations prior to this multiple times. If you'd like to hear more about that, just check out the timestamps in any of the previous 3 or 4 lunar updates. Okay. The next one that I have talked about even more recently as an energy that we're all experiencing right now is Chiron conjunct the North Node in Aries. Some of you have already joined me for that live, or you've listened to the replay of what Chiron conjunct the North Node in Aries means. This Chiron conjunct the North Node in Aries is definitely a vibe for 2024, the beginning of 2024. It's humbling to say the least. I'm watching a lot of people find some reconnect with their inner compass under the influence of this energy when it comes to their leadership and who they are and who they're not, and digging into greater self acceptance in this energy. The combo here lends itself to being pulled, that's the North Node, into Chiron, which could be wounding, it could be rejection, but it's absolutely our inner wisdom through our lived experience or our identity, our sense of selfhood. That's Aries. And then to bring that out and share it with the world. I won't belabor the point here. I'll let you listen to the Chiron conjunct the North Node in Aries for all 12 signs broadcast that I did last week. If that's something you're interested in learning more about, I broke it down for your sign. Okay. That being said, let's go ahead and look at our uh, first look at the full moon in Libra at this lunation. Okay, so you may have already looked at it, but if you didn't, I did provide a march or a walk through all of the eclipses for the Aries Libra eclipse cycle. There, that video is, I think it's in the definitely under lives. If you look under the live tab here, I did it just a few months back, but I also believe it might have be in its own playlist. So you can definitely look in there, but I know for a fact it is under lives if you want to have a listen to what I had to say about this particular lunar eclipse and full moon in connection with the entire cycle, because eclipses never work solo. They always work as a group. And so we may talk about one particular eclipse or one other or another one, but the reality of eclipses is that they are events that inform, enhance, and shape our lives as part of a system. So it's never just what's happening at this one eclipse. It's always what is the entire system trying to help us get to or become in our lives. So have a look at the Aries-Libra eclipse uh, live that I did. I'll see if I can, let me just write it down. Okay, Moan, just write it down. Write it down. Okay. Link Aries Libra eclipse live in description box. How about we do that? Make it easy for people. Okay, thanks for bearing with me. I'll just do that for you and it'll just be there. Okay. So this particular full moon in Libra comes with a lunar eclipse. And of course, if you want some, we're long before this time period arrives. So if you need some help navigating both this new moon in Pisces and through the lunar eclipse, you can always book private time with me to talk through this stuff if this feels like it's been really big energies for you. However, I would say if you want to learn how to navigate it and see this stuff and work with it in a more integrated way, definitely join Star Club. That's going to be the best way to both experience the energy as a learning event so that you can never forget it. It's one thing for somebody to hand you a fish, it's another thing for you to learn how to fish yourself. And that's what I like to do in Star Club. Okay, so let's get into my first impression of this. It's going to be our first eclipse of the year. Here is our full moon in Libra at the 5th degree on March 25th at 3 a.m. Here is our sun at that 5th degree. So sun and moon are always in opposition at full moons. First impression, well, actually, it's going to be more like my second impression because I've looked at this in that previous update. We've got the sun speaking in, sorry, Pluto speaking in harmony from the trine aspect. We also have in conjunct from Mars. Okay, no problem. Okay, and we've got a square here from Vesta and semi-sextile from creation goddess. Okay, I'm going to say that these are the most potent of the aspects from based on what I'm looking at and how this is looking at the moment. Pluto speaks about endings and specifically endings in triplicate stages. So for stage one of a Plutonian ending, death, the cutting, like not the cutting off, but like the shutting down of a thing in entirety, integration, the opportunity to learn something. And then the rebirth. This is where a thing could get resurrected, but in a completely and wholly new format. With Pluto speaking to this full moon in Libra lunar eclipse, there's definitely some type of closing or ending energy here. I believe I spoke about this at the last eclipse update that I provided that we were about to step into. Actually, I spoke about it in the, I remember now, the total eclipse cycle, that the period between the very last eclipse, which was last year, I think in November, and this eclipse that's this year in March, they were both lunar eclipses. And so what we have going on is this portal of closing. Full moons are endings, and then lunar eclipses are big, like major endings. And so we've been in this almost 6-month portal of completions, culminations, closures, releasings, and transitioning out of the old and into the new. This full moon lunar eclipse is part of that, the entirety of that conversation. We step into a large set of solar eclipses that are coming. And they're going to give us an opportunity to lean into big, big, big new beginnings and new timelines for ourselves as we step into the remainder of this year. And so I wanted to make sure I talk about this because we have this portal of closure. Let me just double check something for us, make sure I'm not misspeaking. Yes, lunar eclipse. Okay. Yeah, so we have two solar eclipses that will take place over the remainder of this year. The next one will be April 8th, and then we'll have another one in the fall in October. If you're in the northern hemisphere, it'll be the fall. Okay, so with Vesta in conversation as well here inside of Gemini, Vesta is where we've been dedicated to something. And the moon is sitting here in the sign that deals with collaborations, connections. I think you get where I'm going with this. If you have been invested in a collaboration or a connection and you've outgrown it, they're moving on to a different timeline, you're moving on to a different timeline. It no longer makes sense for it to continue in the way that it's been. This full moon in Libra lunar eclipse is going to allow it to come to a close. Now, we've already been in the energy of this eclipse. Eclipses, I'm going to draw you a little diagram. If eclipses at peak energy is literally kind of like the 2 weeks around the eclipse, but you get the energy of the eclipse. It begins 90 days leading up to it. The 60 days leading up to it are really potent as well. The 30 days leading up to the eclipse, and we're already in that energy at the peak. The 30 days leading up to the eclipse is where you start to see things manifest in the material dimension that are indicative of what this eclipse is trying to do in terms of changing your life. It's definitely divine intervention kind of energy. A lot of life, it's us making choices. But when we get to eclipse points or seasons like Saturn return and moments like Pluto changing signs, these are major, major, major energies where we are not necessarily making the choice as much as we are choosing how we're going to participate in the energies unfoldment. And that's what we're getting with these eclipses. And so these two eclipses, like I said, the one on April 8th and the one here, they're going to work hand in hand. And simultaneously, we're going to get some choices, as I've been talking about this entire lunar update, around how we handle what this eclipse is presenting in terms of closings. Okay. So, really great stuff. We'll be talking about it at the next lunar update for sure. If you've listened to the end, I thank you. I have looked at my analytics and I've seen that so many of you share my content with friends, with family, with your own clients. If you think it could be helpful for them, I'm honored that you would do that. Thank you. I put my heart and soul into what I do to try and give you the best of what this information can mean for you. I'm always in a process of personal development and self improvement so that, I'm integrating it in a way that speaks truth to what you're hearing instead of talks at you. I'm really kind of, the universe is handing me my butt too. So I'm in it with you. Um, all of that to say, thank you for being on the journey with me. Thank you for your likes, your subscribes, your comments about how this energy is unfolding for you. I always think that can be very inspirational and instructive for other people who may be confused by what they're experiencing. Your comments might be exactly what they needed to hear as either confirmation or validation that they're on the right path for themselves. And yeah, I love it. Star Club closes up this Friday. We have our first event this Thursday. And I would love it if you are guided to join, that you do so. Like I said, there's about only 5 spots left for the opportunity to have that hot seat with me where I'll break down a chart for you, yours, someone else's, or talk astro biz with you. If you know you want to lock in one of those spots, I don't recommend you wait. Definitely jump on that installment plan if the only way you can participate is by jumping in at that $397 a month level. perfect way to join. You'll be in great company with some of my most favorite and best students. I would love to have you among them. You don't have to know any astrology. I want to make that clear. You can learn everything you need to know with access to Star School 101, 201, and 301 over the course of the 12 weeks. You can go as slow and do as much or as little as works for you, but you'll be able to pick it up fairly quickly with some of the folks who have already stepped into Star Club, and you would be among them. Thanks so much, everyone. Take great care, and bye for now.